Hello. A couple of days ago, I did some washing and I put it out on the washing line. Now, this was despite the fact that I knew that the forecast for the day was for showers. And sure enough, as I finished pegging out my washing, it started to rain. But I left the washing there because the forecast was just for showers and it was due to stop in a short while, according to the forecast, and then it would be windy all afternoon, which would dry my washing. But when I came out to put the next load of washing on the line an hour later, it was still raining. And I looked at the forecast and it had changed. It was still going to be windy later, enough to dry my washing, but it was going to rain more in the meantime. But I thought, never mind, it will dry, so I will persevere. And when I came out with a third load of washing an hour later, it was almost dry, so I left it there, but immediately I'd finished pegging out that load of washing, the heavens opened and it rained again. Why am I telling you about my washing? Well, because for me, this is an image of hope and faith. If we have faith, if we hope, then in our hope there needs to be a large element of perseverance. In the end, my washing did dry. It took about 8 hours instead of the usual 2 or 3, but it was dry and I was able to put it away at the end of the day. The writer of the letter to the Hebrews says that faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. And when we don't see what we hope for, we need to keep going. We need to persevere. In fact, the writer of the Hebrews uses another word picture just a chapter later. He says that having faith is like running a race, and he exhorts his readers, those who will hear this letter read out to them, said, we should lay aside every weight and the sin that clings so closely, and let us run with perseverance the race that's set before us, looking to Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, who for the sake of the joy that was set before him endured the cross, disregarding its shame, and has taken his seat at the right hand of the throne of God. So the idea of perseverance is very much at the front and centre of the thinking of the writer of the letter to the Hebrews. I like this image of running a race. It's not the only image in the Bible of running a race. The other image speaks about winning the prize. But in this image, there's no sense of how long the race is. It's not about completing or finishing. It's about persevering, keeping going. So the writer of the letter to the Hebrews is thinking more about a marathon than a sprint. And in my experience, that's what life and a life lived by faith is like. Now, often preachers use these images, and this one of running is a great one to use because often they'll talk about the preparation that you have to do beforehand, about the way you have to eat and tone your body and persevere in your practicing and your exercise in order to run the race. This image has none of that within it. It just talks about keeping going, about keeping faith. And if we think about something which is going to take us a long way and last a long time, perhaps there are things that we need to lay down in order to do it. If we think about that race lasting our entire lives, then perhaps along the way there are battles that we will need to fight whilst we keep the goal of completing the race in front of us. And perhaps there are battles that we don't have to fight. If we keep that goal always before us, that our goal is to persevere and complete the race, not to win a prize, but to be there at the finish. And it doesn't matter if we're much slower than everyone else. The goal is to persevere. So some of those battles that we might have fought if it was a sprint, we should ignore, because they'll just become a distraction from persevering. And perhaps there are those in our public life who need to keep their eyes fixed on the goal and not fight every battle as it comes up. So my prayer for you is that you will be able to persevere in faith and hope, keeping that goal of completing the race always before you. Don't worry about prizes. Don't worry about winning every battle. The aim is to be there at the end of the race. And if it takes you twice as long, it doesn't matter. Keep safe.